everyone, Erica Mbonda here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very special guest. This is Junior, my husband. Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi like you like to be here. Did I force you to be here?
No, I was not forced to be there. I was told to say that I am here of my own accord. And nobody's forcing me to do this. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Good answer. Good answer. So everyone, today we're going to be talking about the 5 love languages, which I think has just been so critical and important for us in our relationship. And to be honest, we had to just retake the test a few hours ago just to refresh our memory. And it was a bit surprising because there's some things that has changed in my love language. So I just want to give you guys just a little bit of a background about the 5 love languages for those of you that might not be aware of it. So 5 love languages was done by Gary Chapman in 1992, and he worked as a counselor and found that a lot of couples were really struggling to feel loved in their relationship. And most times they felt like they were doing everything that they could, but still felt like they weren't actually being loved by their partner. And so the 5 love languages is a test that you can take to understand what are your primary and secondary love languages. And it helps you to know how you can serve your partner or even any relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be your husband or your wife. It could be any relationship that you're in. It's quite important. So yeah, Junior and I took the test. Junior, what did you think about your results? Were you surprised by them, or?
I was mostly surprised that they've changed, because when we first took them, I think it was the first year of marriage, it proved to have, I think 2 of the components changed, but it makes sense. The results makes a lot of sense. I recognize I recognize myself in every single one of them. So I think it's definitely something. It's a bit more difficult for men because the kind of question they ask, they give you 2 difficult choices that you have to choose from 2 difficult choices. So if you're honest with yourself, the end results makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, we'll make sure we link the 5 love languages quiz down below for you guys so that you guys can take it as well. But like you said, it does ask you, like, what is most meaningful to you? This or this? And you have to kind of go through that in the series. But yeah, I also thought I was surprised by mine because they changed a bit. And I think through different seasons in life that those things get changed. So what do you think? Okay, I want to guess what yours are, even though I know them now. But what I would have guessed is your number 1, physical touch, is my guess. And number 2, I would have guessed acts of service for number 2, and number 3 would be quality time. So those are like the top 3. What do you think for me?
Words of affirmation for sure. That goes on top. Acts of service, gifts, and physical touch will be all the way down there.
But it hasn't always been that way.
It wasn't all the way at the bottom, but it's definitely not the top 2.
Yeah.
It's below.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so mine were actually words of affirmation. Now, there were words of affirmation. Quality time is number 2, and number 3 was acts of service. But the interesting thing is, for the longest time, mine have always been words of affirmation, quality time, and number 3 was physical touch. But now physical touch is actually the last, and acts of service are my number 3. So a little bit more on that later. What about you?
Mine are physical touch, as most men should be, I think. I hope so. Then words of affirmation, which wasn't always the case.
I'm making sure that I'm serving you.
Then acts of service, gifts, and then at the bottom is, what's the last one?
Quality time. You already said that one.
Yeah, I already said quality time. So physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service. Yeah, that order.
Okay, so your top 3 are physical touch, words of affirmation,
quality
and
time.
Then quality time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think the key thing too is you can have different love languages, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not compatible with each other. I think the key thing and what I've learned is once you know what your partner's love language is, then it's really important to make sure that you prioritize that, and that's how you love your partner. I think in the beginning, I was always loving Junior the way that I wanted to be loved. And that's when you can find yourself in that spiral, as Gary Chapman was saying, where couples are like, I don't feel loved by my partner because of XYZ. So, you know, he might feel like he doesn't feel loved because I don't give him enough physical touch. And physical touch is on my bottom right now. And so if I love him by acts of service, which is maybe what I would love for him to do for me, then he's not going to feel as loved or appreciated because that's not necessarily a priority for him.
Yeah. I think also it's worth mentioning it's very difficult to love somebody in a love language that's not yours. And I think the best way to do that is, I'm an engineer, I build systems, I like systems, is to put in place systems in forms of reminders or cues that will help you do those things for your spouse or for your partner that can keep a certain level of consistency in showing them that they are loved. And then it will also take away the guilt for forgetting to bring Erica flowers, or I used to do this thing, I should probably bring it back, where every Wednesday I'll have a reminder in my calendar to write a small note. It didn't have to be a 5-page letter. Sometimes it was a long letter, sometimes it was 2 paragraphs, but that was one way to put in place a system that can help me just love you using your love language. And and it took away. It's not natural to love somebody in a way that
that's a good
is
point.
not your love language. And you put in place things that can remind you, guys out there, this is for you. Google Calendar is your friend.
I think also for women too. I mean, that's a great point, Junior, because you know sometimes we can feel like if we have to be reminded, then it's not a priority or it's not something that we want to do. But what Junior said, I think, is very, very key. If you are a words of affirmation person and that's what you love to receive, then you're gonna naturally probably give in the same way that you would want to receive. So if you're married to someone who is physical touch and all you do is tell them every day, like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing, I appreciate you, I love you, you know, all of these things, and yet what they need is still, you know, when it's physical touch, like people can think, oh my gosh, like physical touch, like where are they going there? But really it's another way to show love. So like if I'm just sitting and I just kind of am rubbing his knee, you know, for him, it's a physical touch, but it translates as like Erica cares about me. She sees me. She wants to be with me. She wants to spend time with me. And so what he said about it not being natural for us to give, if we can set reminders to make sure that we are loving each other in our love language, I think that is so, so key. And I think talking about it is really important. Like this is nice because we haven't talked about it in a while and things have changed. So also don't take the test one time and then just think that your partner's love language is X for, you know, the next 10 years, because those are going to change. I think for me, like even in looking at how I was surprised that physical touch was last, but when I think about it, I'm like acts of service used to be kind of on the bottom, but now it's actually a number 3 for me. And I think the reason for that is, especially now being a mother, an entrepreneur, just having so many things on my plate, it's really helpful to have someone that is able to take off some of the burden of what's going on in my life. And so when Junior is like, I would love to offer picking up the kids so that you can have a few extra hours to get some work done, or maybe you can go to the spa or do these things. So that is feeling more like what I need in this season, as opposed to giving me a hug. Well, those are still very important, I promise. But I feel more loved when he's able to do some of those things. So it makes sense why acts of service is kind of up there.
There's one more thing also that we picked up on during counseling recently, is that it can be, especially in the first years of marriage, it can be a bit scary to see certain changes in the dynamics of a marriage. For me, for example, I couldn't care less if Erica told me I was a good father or I was showing up or I was doing something right. The fact that it came up as number 2 in this test would have shocked me in the past, but now I understand that we change a lot, we evolve depending on the season where we are, and also the challenges that we face in life and now as a couple. So I think the best trick, like you said, is to do it on a regular basis, not just think that those results are set on stone. They do change depending on the season of life you're in, and you act accordingly.
Yeah, that's really good. That actually was a bit of a surprise for me too, because words of affirmation hasn't really been in your top in the past. So that was nice. All the more reason why to do this test frequently, talk about it. This is a great thing for a date night. Take the quiz together. It literally takes, 10 minutes? Yeah, 10 minutes if you're not distracted, and go through it. So it doesn't take very long. A good conversation starter just to be able to get to know each other better, and then have frequent check-ins and check in on each other. How am I doing in my love language to you? I think that's so important because it could be helpful to hear about that. So just as the last one before we wrap up, how do you think in this season, are there ways that I'm loving you in your love language? Any of the top 3? I hope there's something.
Well, this channel is for kids, so I am gonna go to number 2.
Oh my God.
Say, my first love language is physical touch. We all know where this is going. We're not gonna get into details, but that one has been doing pretty well. Number 2 is words of affirmation, is definitely something you've been doing quite a good job out of late, and I'm quite happy with it. What about you?
So I think as Junior kind of gave it away, which I thought I was going to be alone talking about it, but Junior has been quite diligent. Maybe not in the most recent times, but he was doing it really frequently with the love letters, which was really, it was just a nice surprise just to get like a message.
We'll bring it back.
With the love letter, and it just felt really good. Words of affirmation. But recently, it's just so weird because I never knew acts of service was in the top. But as of late, Junior's been doing a lot of that. Like just seeing that I'm stressed out, seeing that I'm worried about something, listening, like truly listening to me when I'm talking about stuff. And a lot of times he'll ask like, how can I help? But that sometimes I feel so paralyzed and I don't know how he can help. But then there's many times where he just actually does it. He does something. He's like, I'm going to do this for you. Whether it's around the house, whether it's with the kids, whether it's something that I have to do for work, helping me with spreadsheets. Like, so those things really mean a lot, and I feel seen in that. So yeah, thank you. We're not always getting it right. I'm sure that there's plenty of ways that we can improve and plenty of ways that we haven't been doing it, loving each other in the best way. But I think that's why it's so crucial to have these conversations. So thank you, Junior, for being on this channel with me today.
For having me.
Just to kind of recap, so 5 love languages, we're going to put the quiz in the comments section or something below. I'm still getting used to this, but we'll make sure we'll put that down for you. The 5 love languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and quality time. So you are able to look at your primary and your secondary. I think sometimes the third is also important if it's higher in the percentage, but it's always good to do that quiz and then just talk to your partner and see how you're loving them. So perfect for, the day after Valentine's Day, because for us, we sometimes celebrate Valentine's Day, but I think that every day should be Valentine's Day except for Valentine's Day, because it's just a commercial holiday so that you can buy flowers and chocolates, and they make a lot of money, okay, off of this holiday. So make sure you celebrate on other days.
Don't
and it can be
that.
truly
Buy chocolates
meaningful.
and flowers to your woman on Valentine's Day. It's
true. If he doesn't buy anything,
if that rocks your boat, she doesn't want any. So, yeah, for me.
Yeah.
But guys, seriously, to the guys out there, do not underestimate the power of this test, because it might actually give you a few cheat codes on how to love your woman, which we always trying to find. We always complain that we don't know what these women want, and this test is one way to figure out and just to work around it so that you stabilize your relationship and have a happy household. You know what they say about happy wife? Happy life.
Happy life. Happy husband, happy wife.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you guys for being with us today. Don't forget to like, share this video, and please subscribe. I'd be so honored if you subscribe and join the family. And hubby says subscribe. All right, so we'll see you next time. Bye. You want to say bye? No? He says bye. Bye.